Hi, friends. Hello, the world. So, I thought that I would start introducing you to some of the tools that we could be using in coaching environment so that you can really work on your transition. So, you can really get to that transition that you're wanting and in very tangible, concrete ways. And the way that you can do it, of course, working with me individually or in a group that is opening up now. And we will be going through all of this in details and also helping you to get to that life, to that environment, to that whatever the thing that you're desiring to get to that place, and also doing that without changing anything external first, which I was talking about a lot lately. So the every video I will be introducing one tool at a time, because as you know that I'm a great believer that we have all the tools available within us that we can use to get to where we want to get to whatever the goal we're pursuing. And one of the first tool that I want to introduce you today is before and after tool. And I know that many of the fellow humanitarians are familiar with this before and after tool because we use that in our projects, we use that in our works, we use to show how we're helping people from one to another, or to show what are the significant changes in the lives of the people that we're serving. So therefore, we're going to use the same tool that we're familiar with, only that we will be using it to our mindset, right? So the way that I have used this tool in my life is in this way, and I thought for anyone who is more like a visual, I will be showing you this. So I have always divided this into 4 parts, and I will be explaining to you in a minute and also showing you in application how that looks like. So first is obviously we can put what is now currently. So here you can put any one specific problem you're having now, or you can also put any of the way that you're living your life now, whatever the life you're having now. For instance, you can go into details of relationships, relationships at work, relationships at home, relationship with yourself, how it is currently, relationship with money, relationship with your time, relationship with whatever the thing that you can think of. You can put it here and describe in detail, or only focus on one problem at a time, and then look at what is happening currently, right? So this is what is. So without judgment, without like wishing things to be different, just put anything that comes in terms of how we see things now. This is where we put it in the A line. In the B is what is it that we're wanting and desiring, right? So we're going from A to B. So what is it that we're wanting currently, or in relation to that particular problem that we're talking about, or in our life in general? What is it that we're wanting now at this stage of our lives? So again, you can look at the same things of relationships with others, with your work colleagues, with your relationship personally, with money, with time, with energy, with resources, whatever the thing that you are wanting, how you want that to be. And you can get very detailed, or you can also focus on one particular problem or the solution of that problem, how that looks like. Now, then we go to the C, is actually the bridge between the A and the B, meaning that what is it actually standing in the way? What is it actually the obstacle, the problem that is not allowing us to go us from what is it where is it that we're here and where do we want to go? So what is it that's stopping us, basically? Right? And then go to the version of ourselves of the person who can solve for any of those problems. How can we do that in a way that we can solve whatever the thing that we think is standing in our way? The hint is oftentimes the thing that's standing in our way is our belief about our abilities, our belief about what we can and cannot do, even though oftentimes we believe the problem or the what's standing in the way is something external. So let's look at the example of how we would apply it, right? So I hope that you can really see my writing, and I will be going through, of course, explaining this as well. So now let's go to being very specific and looking at the before picture of where we are now, right? So the same way that we would do it in our project management of looking at where people are now, what their situation is now, and what we want them to be. The same way we're going to do this here, only applying to ourselves. So we will be looking at, let's say, problems with our boss, with our colleagues, and we'll be saying that this is what's happening now in my current life, right? So, or maybe problems with our loved ones at home because of the work situation that we have, that we can't be with them. Whatever the situation that you're currently experiencing or observing in your life. So put that here. And the same way you can do that with time, for instance, I struggle with time. I don't have time enough to be doing things that I want to do. Whatever the problem that you think is here, you can put it here as well. You can also look at the energy, meaning, whatever the feeling that you're having, like you feel exhausted, you feel angry, you feel tired, you feel this and this. You can put all of that here as well. The resources, I put it in general, but you could also be very specific and say, I always have problem of spending, or I don't think I can have enough money if I leave, or I don't have, or I have too much money and I shouldn't be, or whatever the problem that you think you're having currently. This is where you want to put. It can also be other resources, but I just wanted to just specify for you to be clear as to what resource you're talking about, right? The same goes for location, as you can say that I don't like my duty station where I'm now, or I want to be in a duty station that, or sorry, I I don't think my duty station is helping me to be close to my loved ones, or to doing networking, or whatever the problems you think that you have now with the location. And of course, you can, expand this list to whatever else that you think is the problem. Like the system is the problem, the bureaucracy is the problem, whatever it is that you want, you can put it all here. Now, in the after picture, like we said, is looking at what is it that I'm wanting to have, or what is it that I'm wanting to be in charge of, right? So it's important that we are very specific as to what is it that our heart is desiring, wanting, that we think we don't have it now. So we could look at what type of relationships we're wanting to have with others, right? So be it with our boss, with our colleagues, or with our loved ones. What is it the desirable result that we're wanting, or the desirable way that we're wanting to have that relationship, for instance? The same goes for being in charge of your time. How do you want to be in charge of your time, or how does it look like, rather? How does it look like to be in charge of your time? How would you spend that time? Ideally, like for me, for instance, this was one of the big ones when I was transitioning. I wanted to, excuse me, I wanted to take 2 hours time for lunch. For me, somehow this was so important. I don't really find that as important now that I'm living my life this way, in a very time abundant way. But in the past, I remember that I never wanted to take only 15 minutes time for lunch. I wanted always to be very relaxing lunch, or also I wanted to wake up as I want to. So this might be like imagining how you want your time to be. The same goes for energy, right? So you want invigorated, you want recharge, you want to be passionate, you want to be always in charge, you want to live in a life that's predictable or maybe unpredictable. Whatever the energy you're wanting, meaning the feeling you're wanting, you want to be peaceful, you want to be grounded, you want to be connected, right? So all of this, you can put it here as well. And the same goes for resources, that you have all the resources you want to be doing whatever you want to. Should be choosing the location where you want to live. So you describe whatever the ideal scenario that you're having in details here. And then we will be going to the C and the D, right? So now we will be looking at the what's standing in the way, why we think that whatever we're desiring we can't have, right? So this is very important that we're very specific about it. Again, I put some of the reasons might be in quotes, right? So I put, for instance, the reason why we can't be happy at work is because of the boss, or because of certain personalities, or because of the system, for instance, right? So if it wasn't for this system, I would be happy. Or if it wasn't for this boss, I would be happy. Or if it wasn't for this type of task that I have to do, I would be happy doing my job, for instance. The same goes for if you want to transition, you think the reason why you cannot really transition to whatever you're wanting is because the market is not conducive. The market is not allowing you to whatever XYZ, right? Or the same goes for money, for instance. You would leave your job now if it wasn't for money, for instance, if it wasn't for your responsibilities or for your obligations that you have. So whatever it is that you can be very specific. I just put the titles here, but you can be very specific as to what is the exact thought that you have that you think is a problem because of which you cannot move to whatever you're wanting. And the same goes for time, is meaning that I ran out of time already. I should have done this like 5, 10 years ago, or I don't have time to be working on it, or I'm so busy all the time that I can't think of my transitioning. Whatever it is that you're thinking that the problem that's standing in the way is here. Now, oftentimes I think many people get to this place in their problem solving, in their like analysis of what's going on and how it's going on. And I think that they don't really go to this final part, which is the D part, is being in the concept, or being, if we imagined we are in charge of how to solve these problems, or we are in charge of how to create the results we want, how we would do this, how we would solve for every problem that we have. Now, I think the reason why many people don't get to this part is simply because we don't believe that all of these problems can be solved by us. We don't believe that it all depends on us, right? Because look at these reasons. I mean, the boss, it doesn't depend on us how the boss shows up, or how the boss asks things, or how the boss works, or whatever, right? The same goes, the system is already established. Obviously, we can't do anything about it, or the market is so huge and so vague as well that we obviously don't have control over it, right? So this is the thinking that we stay in, and therefore we don't even go to this part, the last part of changing things. Now, I would love to invite you to actually go through this. Even if you cannot imagine that it's possible, at least give yourself a chance of, if in the magic land, you are in charge of everything that you created, if every result that you created in your life, how would you solve for all of these problems? So in this case, we would be looking at, yes, we cannot control the boss, obviously. We don't know how he or she will show up in the workplace, or how whatever they say or don't say, we cannot control that, obviously. But what we can control is how we react to that, how we show up irrespective of how the boss behaves, for instance. Or, I mean, you can replace this boss with anyone, right? So I'm just using this as an example because it comes up a lot in my conversations, but it could be anyone else, basically. The same goes for the system. Yes, we cannot change a lot of the things in the system that has been established for 70, 80 years, or maybe even less, but it doesn't matter. But what can we control in that system? What can we work through in that system? How can we show up and do our part no matter how the system is? Right? So no matter how the system is, And if we're not satisfied with it, how else can we do our impact? How else can we do our fulfilling work without depending on that system, right? The same goes for looking at our beliefs of where we are giving so much power, so much outsourcing to the system or to the boss, meaning where we're giving so much power to how we can't do anything about it, how we can't do anything about the market, how we can't do anything about the money or about the time. Where in our beliefs we're giving so much power to those things that we're not really in charge of how to use these resources or how to approach these resources or how to create these resources or how to interact with this market, for instance, right? So that's why I would love for you to at least give your brain a chance to look at, like be just curious to look at if you were in charge fully as to how you interact with whatever you're having in the world, how would you interact? How would you show up? How would you do things no matter what the outside circumstances are? And imagine that self concept of yourself, or imagining you being that person. And how would you do that? Right? And then start working on that mindset of what if you are totally in charge of all of this? What if you're totally in charge of creating the results you want to? And then we will be building this bridge thought of what if you can be from not being in charge or all of these things not depending on you going to maybe it does depend on me, or maybe I can do something about it too. Yes, I can do everything about it, and here is how I'm going to do it. So, this is how I will be inviting you to work with me to go through this as to how we're going to interact with these problems or obstacles that we think are in the way, how we're going to interact with them, how we're going to show up to be doing whatever we're doing, no matter what these obstacles are, and doing it in a way that is true to us, doing it in a way that's connected to us, doing it in a way that feels fulfilling. And this is exactly how we want to be doing it, so that we can take charge and we can own our results rather than letting like all these obstacles to be owning our results, and being in charge in a way that feels true to us, feels connecting to us. And this is how I invite you to be working on this mindset of how being in charge looks like, how you can actually be in charge of creating a lot more results that you thought is possible. And this is how I would love for you to work on it with me in individually or in a group, and getting yourself shifting your mindset in a way that allows you to be living your life currently in the way you want to now without changing anything external if you don't want to, or getting yourself to a point where you decide, no, I want to change because I know that I can do anything I want in life and I want to be doing something else, and then going for that transition. So, my dears, I hope that it was helpful for you to think about these things and then getting yourself from one mindset to another, shifting yourself from one mindset to another, where you no longer become the reactionary of what's going on outside, but you become the proactive game changer for yourself, so that you decide how you want to live your life, how you want to create your impact, how you want to be in charge of your time and your energy. Okay, my dears, message me for any coaching, for any decision making. I'd be happy to help you out. Until then, stay safe.